So tell me about Soup Joumou.
Soup Joumou is a soup that Haitians have been eating since our independence. January 1st, 1804, our independence from the French was declared by Jean-Jacques Dessalines, and Soup Joumou was the soup of choice. It was the soup that was banned from enslaved Africans in Haiti from eating. And after they had their liberation, they basically said, we're going to do what we want. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to eat some soup joumou. Well, basically, soup joumou is a squash soup made from pumpkin and different squash, and it's made you can make it vegetarian style, you can make it with lots of meat inside of it. And so my daughter is very skilled in making a really good pumpkin soup and with all of the ingredients. And so she was like, I'm not making soup joumou. I said, yes, you are. I was like, you don't even know. It's in your DNA, baby. You making it and you don't even know, son. And so the fight for independence for Haiti was one that lasted about 14 years. It started first in the hearts of all Africans, which were stolen from their country of origin. Whether they were from Dahomey, whether they were from Congo, whether they were from Guinea. Within the heart of each African, the desire for freedom was always there. Haiti became the first free black republic because we organized and we never let go of that feeling, that vision, and that inalienable human right. So that's a mouthful. But basically, we never moved from there. And so Bois-Caïman, which happened on the night of the 13th, and it went into the 14th of August, 1791, was the ceremony in which our African gods were called upon, our ancestors, and all that we knew before enslavement. So all of the spirits were called.
My silly behind knew that this was a soup that my dad used to make every year on, for New Year's Day. And it was delicious and I loved it. And I knew it was different from bouillon. That's what we have on Christmas. But soup joumou, I loved it, and it was what my dad would make, right? True story. I used to do locks for people on the side. So people come to my house and they would get their locks done. I was not great at it, but I used to do it. This brother came to my crib and named Patrick, and we were going to do his hair. And he's like, you mind if I eat my soup first? I'm like, yeah, sure, go ahead. He opened up this container of this soup. And I'm looking at him like, wait, what? How did you get my father's soup? And my silly behind actually said that to him. I was not young, okay? I was doing people's hair. This was in my 20s. So I was just like, Patrick, where'd you get my dad's soup from? And he was like, what? He said, where'd you get my father's soup from? My father always makes that soup. I don't know anyone in my mind. It was my dad who always made the soup. He's like, Michele? This is Soup Joumou. This is our soup that we always have symbolize our freedom on Independence Day. And you can now get it anytime. This is me picking up my face like, oh.
So did you grow up knowing what Soup Joumou was? Did your parents tell you?
No, my parents did not tell me. My parents did not tell me, though it was a part of the food that we had. I learned a lot of Haitian history from my aunt, Tati Rosemary. She was the one, Tati Marie. She was the one who broke it down and never let go, never let us forget our Haitian heritage, our pride, and our history.
There's a lot of things that, once again, I didn't know the history of, or I would think it was just us. And then speaking to my other friends who are from, whether it be other parts of the Caribbean, like DR, like parts of Trinidad, where my mom said they also used to speak French. My friends from South and Central America, who are Ecuadorian, they would tell me these things. And so many of our histories just overlap, but you wouldn't necessarily know because so much stuff just seemed, secretive.
Yeah.
So even when my mom would talk about when I left my old job in the 90s, someone had a big picture of what is clearly not just a voodoo ceremony, but like the big one of Bois-Caïman. So someone, I don't know who at my job, because there were no Haitians at my job, but it's also symbolic of those who are practitioners of Vaudin, of Santeria, of Candable, to honor like the history. So I see this big picture. I automatically know what it is because I'm seeing, what looks like a slave revolt. There's like a big bonfire in the middle, and they're slaughtering a black pig, and I'm like, oh, okay, I know this very well. I mean, I've had my ex-boyfriend was Yoruba, and so practice Yoruba, and so I was very familiar also with this, even though my folks didn't necessarily like to talk about it, because I think for a lot of Haitians, you have those people that really embrace the all that is African, and a lot of people who also embrace the history with like Waikama and the whole voodoo ceremony, and we were liberate. And then there's other folks who don't. Anything that's related to Africa, anything that is deemed as associating us or tying us to the motherland, there's this bit of shame, or especially when you talk about Vaudin, like I've realized that a lot of people, it's just, if you mention it, it's like a source of shame for some Haitians, as opposed to other folks who are just like, and this is how we got our liberation.
Right, it has become a stigma.
Yeah.
Or it's become a sense of taboo, or a sense
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because I can see how, or that which you don't speak about. You
Yes.
might do it. It's in the cover.
Exactly.
Oh,
Like my mom would do things. I'm just like, then when I got more into like African-based religions, I'm just like, hold on 1 second. What are you doing? She's like, I know we don't speak about that. So
Right.
they do things,
Very
but they
hidden.
don't speak about it.
With Caribbean people, there's something in the culture where they don't tell everything to their children. There's an aspect where there's things where it's like you're too young to know. So even when you turn 45, you might find out certain things about the family history. And so I think that it's a subconscious choice sometimes that people make. They'll keep certain aspects of the culture, but they may not feel like it's necessary or that it translates. And then there's other Haitian families that will never let their children not know their history and not know their culture. You know what I mean? That's just the way it is. And others may keep aspects. They may keep the language. They may keep the type of food, but they may not go into certain aspects of the culture. And some of that is in relation to voodoo. Voodoo is an intrinsic part of Haitian culture. It's an intrinsic part of Haitians' liberation and Haiti's independence. And so there are things that sometimes people become uncomfortable with, and they kind of gloss over it and don't want to continue to perpetuate it, because for many Haitian immigrants that came into the United States, especially during the 1960s and 1970s, at that time, there wasn't as much stigma. The stigma really started in the 1980s with the influx of Haitian refugees that came in. They were called the boat people. And so with that, many of them that came in, especially that were here in New York City, they dealt with a lot of discrimination. And they were, many people said negative things about them in relation to voodoo, in relation to AIDS, relation to all types of things that were, untrue. And so for many people, they just wanted to disassociate themselves from all aspects and really just to be seen as themselves. I think today we've come full circle, and there's a whole new generation. And the generation that I'm a part of, being born here, raised here, but also going back to Haiti many times on my own, what I found is that I had to create for myself my own entry into Haitian history, culture, and dynamics that is beyond the realm of what my parents know or what my parents have taught me.
It's down until it's...
So everything is real soft. And I'm going to try to blend it.
Yeah, everything in that's associated with Africa, for some people, it's something to be ashamed of. So, you have some of those Haitians that don't speak Creole. They will tell you and pride themselves on only speaking French. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like, they think that the national language of Haiti is French, but oh God, relatively recently, like within the past 30 years, they also made Creole an official language. Nice. And then those people that like, why are we making that? I'm like, because that's the language that the majority of people speak. Like, I know that anything that's associated with Africa, with with Haitians who are like, embracing that culture. Some folks don't want to associate with any of that. So there's folks who they say they speak French, not Creole. There's folks who are proud that they're Catholic, and not, and don't even acknowledge what done and all it's done and contributed. So I'm like, okay, whatever. There are those folks. There's folks who spent their summers in France and will tell you. I've even met some Haitian folks that are like, well, I'm Creole. I'm like, so what does that mean? Does that mean that you were someone who was born in the New World? Because that's what a Creole is, right? You're talking about someone who's French speaking or Spanish speaking, but their family's from Europe and then born here.
Right.
And then it kind of like then, especially with like New Orleans, it then became
Identified with a separate culture,
associated with with folks who were of mixed blood, mixed ancestry. It's funny that mulatto is a derogatory term. I do diversity training. You don't say it because it's talking about like a mule and a combination of two different animals, and so half breed. Those are horrible negative words. In Haiti, boy, mulat are like proud and embrace that. They're like, they will just be.
It's preferable.
Oh yeah, because Haiti didn't have that one drop of black blood thing like they had over here. Which is why our history is so complicated. Over here, one drop of black blood makes you black. In Haiti,
it's the opposite.
It was a different. Well, I wouldn't say it was the opposite, but it was a different thing. So you had slave masters who actually took care of their kids, right? Like they would pay for them to go to Paris to go and study. Like, oh well, my child is not white, but they ain't black. They're mulat. You know what I'm saying? And so
that's when it became a social different class.
Oh my God,
that's the whole.
Yeah, it's just when you have a country that's all black. The issue isn't race. The issue is colorism and shadeism and class, as opposed to being solely race, which is just, my special island nation.
Are you gonna have some soup tomorrow?
Absolutely. My daughter made some delicious soup joumou, and I may visit a few friends' home, and I may have some more. And it's our thing. If you go through Instagram, Facebook, there isn't a person that's not celebrating, that's not making soup joumou. It's done traditionally. It's the nouveau style, puree. All you could do whatever you want with it. But at the bottom line, it is the soup of freedom. And so we have it, we drink it, we eat it, we enjoy it, because the Haitian Revolution is a story that will never be forgotten.